Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 10:05. I see we have a fair amount, but we still have some to come. But let's start with the introductions. So, welcome to our first webinar after our very successful conference and awards session that we had. For those that were there, I hope you truly enjoyed it. It was absolutely fantastic. And the turnout was also very good. So yeah, now we get down to plotting and planning the next awards and conference, which we will be hosting early next year. Yeah, all very exciting. Lots of changes in the awards, lots of criteria changes and things that are going to be done differently, as in you're not going to have a string of questions to answer. You're going to be able to do a submission. And we are currently putting together what the judges will be looking for in your submission. So we don't need to spoon feed you via questions. You guys can put your submissions together and cover all the information. And thank you very much to NICE, who are our headline sponsors for the conference and the awards for this year, and are kindly going to share with us. And as I said to Colin earlier, I hope he's brought his crystal ball, because this is something, we've all known about work from home and technology has been around but yet nobody did anything until COVID hit us. And then suddenly we had to wake up to, oh dear, let's deploy, let's get people hybrid working, let's sort this out. And in some cases, contact centers weren't able to do that. So yeah, we're going to rely on Colin today to go back to the future and tell us what's going to happen in 5 years' time. So our speaker, Colin Field, welcome to him. He is the portfolio engineer of workforce planning. Okay, Colin is a workforce management consultant with over 25 years of experience in the contact center industry. He is passionate about transformation and improving operational efficiency and customer experience. Colin's blend of technical management and communication skills has enabled him to provide effective assistance to organizations globally, delivering successful outcomes and driving positive change. Okay, somebody's wanting recording here. I will facilitate for you today. For those who don't know me, I'm Sharon Haig, and as part of the CCMG and NICE, we welcome you here today. And Colin, I'm going to hand over to you, and I will facilitate in the background.
Thanks for that, Sharon. I just had my thanks to everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join me today. So I'm going to talk about contact center planning in the next 5 years. Thanks for Sharon to make me sound really old. But yes, I've been in the contact center industry for 25 years, and I've done many roles of all the way up from an agent, coach, team leader, to contact center head. So I'm going to use my background and my knowledge and talk about some studies that we've seen that share some glimmers of what things are going to look like over the next 5 years. So firstly, I just want to start by asking everyone to think about your contact center and answer this question. So when did your contact center adopt these service channels? And just take a second to just think about your center and whether you currently use all these channels, or whether you're planning on adopting them soon, or whether you're not at all and you don't think you need to. Just take a second to think about whether you're operating those channels currently. And in a second, I'm going to share what the study says globally for how customers have answered that question. So these are the results of the global study. So new channel adoption's happening now, and it's influencing contact centers right now. Over the past 2 years, there's been a significant change, and it's accelerating. And I think Sharon touched on COVID but there's lots of reasons why the contact center industry is taking a lot of changes, and this is one of them, which is a big shift in the channels that customers want to service by. And customers are demanding this. You recognize this as a customer as well as somebody who works in the contact center industry. You've changed the way that you interact with the services and the sectors that you work in. So anecdotally, as a consultant for contact centers, I used to work with organizations that were primarily voice, and maybe had one or two small digital channels. But over the last year at NICE, we've implemented multiple customers with no voice at all, everything being self-service and digital. And you can see from the shift in here, if you've not adopted it, these service channels in the last year or so, most organizations are planning to adopt them within the next year. So before I talk about workforce management, I want to go beyond today and talk about what the next 5 years look like. But first, I want to just touch on how we're changing from being contact centers to customer experience. And there's a reason for this, but I'll explain it in a second. So first of all, we've all got a new language called CX, which is customer experience. And it's a term that was introduced as far back as the 1960s, but gathered momentum in the 90s. And the language of CX introduced a whole dictionary of terms and phrases that we've all had to learn, because it's not quite as simple as just ringing a customer calling you and completing a call anymore. There's actually lots for us to consider in that new digital landscape. So let's just take a few of these. So I'm going to talk about ESAT and CSAT. So we all recognize that happy employees result in happy customers. Therefore, your employee satisfaction levels go up and your customer satisfaction levels go up. And it's a key relationship in our organization. I'm going to touch on another one as well. So artificial intelligence, it's almost like everyone's contractually obliged to talk about AI in today's world. But it is really important because AI can play a big part in customer experience going forward. And if it's used poorly, it can really hinder customer experience. So it needs to be used in the right way. But the two key phrases that I think have come out of CX in the last few years is intent and resolution. And these are because customer experience is a little bit different than what we typically had in a contact center 10 years ago, where a customer calls and you want to get to the end of the call and the customer finishes and doesn't ring back. Now you need to understand what a customer's intent is, and you need to resolve it. And the reason the switch in languages here is because in that digital world and in that customer experience landscape, things are different. You've got to understand a customer's intent because you're going to be treating it differently through that journey. So what we always want to do is identify the intent of the customer, what they want, and resolve that as quickly as we can. And the reason I share those terms is because there's this key study from a Gartner research analysis in the recent years that show us what that now looks like from a customer's expectations perspective. So customers want to self-service. And we all appreciate this as customers ourselves, but actually I don't want to go through a contact center or sit in a queue or even go through a complex or queuing mechanism. I actually just want to show my intent and get resolved. And what this study is telling us, in the not so distant future, so within 5 years, 85% of consumer interactions will take place without a human-to-human interaction. And that's quite a massive thing for us in the contact center when our historical way of working is we interact with customers. But actually, we all know, we as customers, I'm not saying we don't want to speak to anyone, but at the same time, we actually just want to say what we need and get an instant resolution. And that often means not speaking to an agent. So, we've heard this from analysts and customers over the last couple of years as well. So I want to talk a little bit about why this is not happening. And there are some fundamental issues that we see even in large, well-funded organizations of why that 85% isn't being achieved. But first of all, I'm going to share a personal experience of me as a customer of a UK credit card company. And these are examples that we all need to think about in our centers of why customers are not getting to that magic 85%. So if I log in to pay my bill and it takes me through a process, it asks me to enter my address with a drop-down list from a country. Now, I live in the UK and I'm paying my credit card and it knows my address. But on that list to select the country, when I go to put in my address to make that payment, I still have to scroll down 100 countries, starting with Afghanistan all the way down to the UK or even South Africa at the end. Now, as a customer, that's not a great experience. I'm spending probably 5-10 seconds. I know it might not sound like much, but these are things that hinder us as customer experience organizers to actually deter a customer from taking those journeys where they can self-service themselves. or go down a fully digital route, because I've actually had to scroll down 100 lists. Now, I know it sounds like a stupid point, but if I'm a UK credit card customer and they know my address, I don't know how many customers we do have in Afghanistan for that, because they might not even have any. I think people just put in place a generic list. But think about that in your center. How many times do you make a customer experience harder than it needs to be? And actually, the end result is that a customer has to ring you in queue and speak to a human agent. So I'm just going to talk through what I think customers want. So in a typical customer journey, so whether it's a billing question or the check of an order. So as we've seen, our research shows that most customers will try and self-service. So the first thing is to recognize the intent to get a resolution. And in reverse, when customers get to an agent, they don't want to repeat everything as well. You want, as a customer, you want the person that you speak to know the journey you've been on so far. So first thing that customers expect is expert knowledge. So what I mean by that is that when a customer goes in to do a search on a website, they want to be presented with something that's meaningful to them and tries to answer them straight away. So, for example, if I go in and search my Zanussi washing machine is not working properly, I expect and want the Zanussi website to be front and center and return some results helping me how to fix that. I don't want it to pop up and say, I've got Dave from a local shop near me who also mends washing machines, but actually he focuses on tellies. So you can imagine there, you want expert knowledge and you want it presented, recognizing your intent. Then what customers want, or what we all want, is a guided experience. So organizations should draw the customer towards a resolution. So they should recognize that intent on the search, and they should make sure that what they're showing to a customer is accurate externally as well as internally. So they want to be guided, and that needs to also join it with what the agent see as well. The worst thing we hate when we speak to an agent is the agent not knowing what I've already been presented with or gone through already. And then we all recognize this, but customers want to interact on their own terms these days. You want to interact on the channels that you choose. So what I mean by that is if you start on a web page, then you don't want the next step to be that you've got to ring up or visit a branch. You actually want to carry on in that digital space. If I've got my phone in my hand, I want to carry on down that path. If I'm sat there on my laptop on a page, I want to carry on down there. I don't have to stop and completely change. Customers expect to be able to use their channel of choice. And all these things are building into what that you can imagine what the next 5 years are going to look like. So, and if you're on that journey as an organization and we haven't found a resolution, we've taken you through expert knowledge, we give you some guide experience, you've chosen your channel of choice, and you have to click that point, that dreaded button where it says contact us. So as an organization, you want something that assists you in a smart way. So I know this sounds like another plug for AI, but the quality of your AI solution here is key. It's that we try to satisfy an agent before going to we try to satisfy a customer's query before going to an agent. Now, what I mean here is smart, not a bot that an agent bot that goes round and round in circles, giving you the same options that you've already seen all the way through the journey. What I mean here is a smart assistant that recognizes where you've been so far, what you've already looked at, and gives you extra information or extra questions to try and resolve your query, not repeats everything that's gone so far. But we know that inevitably there'll be some contacts that we then still need to go to an agent. And we cross into the levels where the point where levels of effort increase massively for organizations. And these are not all failures. Let's just be really clear. When you choose to send a customer to a human agent and try and get an interaction, it might be because that's the best journey for that type of query. You know, if a customer's got a special circumstance, for example, maybe they've had a car crash, and actually you think it's really important that they speak to someone at that point rather than go through the long process of filling in forms. You know, you can choose as an organization what your journeys for your customers should be. But what I'd say in all of that is that it should have gone through all that journey. So when it comes to that human agent, they know about everything that's happened so far. No one wants to repeat everything for the 5th time when they get to an agent. So they expect to know what's happened so far. And a good knowledge management system will present all those facts to an agent the same way that they've done already for the customer. And it's that simple, really, isn't it? We recognize the intent of a customer, we take them through a journey and we give them a resolution. But how many journeys have you been on as a customer in the recent months where you've had a great experience, and how many have you been on where you've not had a great experience? And how does that work in your center? So I just want to elaborate a little bit on what almost becomes this mythical thing in the future of an agent. So if we're saying that 85% of customers' interactions are going to be dealt with in a self-service way and they don't want to speak to an agent, then what does that mean when you do get to an agent? And it can really sometimes get overlooked. So when a customer finally gets to an agent, they have the most difficult job of all. So as you can hear from what I've just said, they're going to have the complex, difficult queries. So it's going to make it even more important that when things do come through to agents, they're in the right place. So how can we help agents? So the first thing we can do is an agent desktop's changed. I think gone are the days from probably some of us started in the industry where you had a single application. Now you've often got multiple applications, which require lots of expertise on those. So what we can do now is we can present that in a single pane for the agent. So that can be pulled together in one place. And that's just using technology to recognize that the next 5 years are going to get more complicated with more channels and more complex queries getting to agents, and make it easy for agents. Recognize that you can provide a product that gives them all of those in a single pane. Second thing that you can do is give visibility of the customer journey. So I mentioned it a couple of times but present the past interactions that the customers had already, so that they're not just starting the story again, they're coming up with the intent of the customer straight away so they can help the customer. Understand the customer sentiment and co-pilot. I know it sounds a really simple thing, but if you've got all that search history that the customer's already said and what questions they've already answered, then present the next thing that you want the agent to speak to the customer about. Or maybe there was an unclear answer in that journey. Co-pilot with the agent. So give them some intelligence to help them, and give them answers that are knowledge based. And even, and this is really common amongst many products on the market, but ours especially, is give a final summary. So if you're recording all that content and it's doing text to speech and all that information is being captured, technology can provide a summary for the agent to repeat back to the customer to make sure that they've understood everything that they wanted, they've answered all their queries, and then summarize that as notes. So you can see all of these things in technology can make an agent's life easier. And all of that improves your employee satisfaction, and therefore your customers walk away happier. So I guess in summary, what I'm saying there is if you improve that customer journey, get everything work properly, then you end up with happier customers and happier agents as a result. So we've talked about the customer and the agent experience, but you can argue the most important group is the brand experience. And it's a little bit sometimes of a secondary concern. Um, we need to introduce more channels and more services while at the same time improving the acquisition and retention of customers and agents. So to try and meet these objectives, organizations are often adding more and more separate and siloed technologies. So this isn't uncommon to see a customer or a contact center that has a massive selection of these already in place, and we refer to this as a little bit like the Frankenstack. And some of those technologies are overlapping and support different aspects of the customer, but at its core, customers are often paying for the same technology and making it harder for us within the contact center to operate. Best way to describe this is a bit like an analogy of an all-you-can-eat buffet. With so much on offer, it can be really overwhelming, and your selection might make you feel a little bit sick. But while no organization sets out to build this, it's a result of decisions where you need something to solve an immediate problem. And it can often result in that brand experience being disjointed and feeling really inconsistent. So I'm just going to talk about what I would recommend for CX tips to meet those new challenges. So understand that CX language and set goals that are bold. And what I mean by that is recognize if the journey that your contact center's on is that you're adding more digital channels to support your customers. And in the near future, most of those contacts or interactions with customers are going to be automated without an agent. Then set bold goals for your CX journeys and think about what you need to do to get there. Embrace technology. So inevitably, technology is what's going to make that journey work. And we all know as users of technology, like for example, for me, my services, I think the Amazon delivery driver must know my name and address off by heart by now, by the amount he arrives. We've changed to adopt technology in our personal life, and we know that's only going to continue. So adopt technology in your contact center and adopt it in a consistent way. Support agents because they're key to that customer experience. So the interactions that do come out to agents in the future are going to be really, really difficult and complex, and they'll be the ones that I used to describe in the insurance and the banking industries as moments of truth. So it'll become at a stage where when you do speak to an agent, it's a point where it's make or break. If you do well, the customer will show you loyalty and stay with you as an organization or as a provider in the future. If you don't, they're likely to leave. So the example I always give is in insurance, when typically you'll do your renewal each year, you won't speak to anyone in the center, but when you do, it'll be that point when you have a claim. It'll be the point when you've had a car crash and you need to claim on your insurance, and that's often the moment of truth. And that journey that works well, when that renewal comes through the year afterwards and it's a little bit higher than you wanted, and maybe there's a competitor that's a little bit cheaper, you'll stay with that provider because they gave you a great experience and they helped you in that moment of truth. So it's really important that you support your agents through those CX journeys. And I know it sounds really obvious, and I'm always going to say this within a background of workforce management and planning.
I see.
Measure it.
It's quite interesting. I mean, here's what's funny. I mean, I'm going to get it. If I get
sorry, somebody is not on mute. Bitumaleng, I think it's on your side. Thank you very much. Sorry, Colin.
It's all right. Don't worry. So I was just saying, measure it, improve it, and repeat it. There's no perfect answer that everyone's going to get everything right from the beginning. Measure it, improve it, and repeat it. So I'm going to talk specifically now about workforce management. So I've said how important agents are there. So I'm going to talk about how workforce management can help you in that new digital CX world, but also what you can do in an innovative way to support employees. Sharon mentioned COVID. I'm going to touch on some things at the end here about how things have changed and what expectations are for employees. So first of all, I promise I'm not going to do too much on this, but at NICE, we're proud to say that we're the industry leader in workforce management, and we're recognised by multiple sectors, and we're also recognised as the market share by the DMG study. But really, this is what our workforce management suite provides. So we enable our customers to create long-term plans up to 5 years in advance, supporting AI forecasting. We then use machine learning to simulate schedules to make sure that we're accurate considering the challenges of digital and CX. But I'm going to explain a little bit more about what we've done because, like everyone, we're on a journey changing to meet those challenges of in 5 years and to meet those challenges now of a digital landscape. So within our products, first thing that we did was add channels covering digital and CX. Then we enabled our customers to reflect concurrency. And more recently, we introduced a latest change called True to Interval, which supports our customers by decomposing the handling time for single contacts that are across multiple intervals. I know it sounds a bit geeky for that one, but what I really mean by that is it's important that we recognize if we've got interactions like WhatsApp chat, for example, that could result in multiple interactions in the form of responses over a period of hours or even days. So things get a little bit more complicated in planning, that you don't just have a call arriving and it either got answered or abandoned. You've got to consider how many of those interactions to that WhatsApp are going to arrive across a day or hours and hours and hours afterwards. So it's really important that our workforce management technology allows you to forecast and plan for that accurately. And we've done that. But that takes us to where we are now. And we like everyone else, are on a journey to do more and to continue to improve and get better. So we've got things coming in our roadmap, like cognitive load and improving our team scheduling and putting some purpose-built calculators in a CX environment. Because while we recognise we're quite leading in the market and we've done lots of things to support the future landscape, we've got to react as well. We've got to keep improving and keep on getting better. I'm just going to flip through this quickly, but I want to focus on workforce management with employees. So I shared before how we do the process up until where we engage with employees, so how we plan, we forecast, and we schedule. So I just want to spend a bit more time now talking about how we engage with employees, because like I said before, it's the most important thing in our contact center, is making sure that we've got happy employees to result in happy customers. So let me share a recent survey again. So probably recognize this going through. I keep on referring back to studies. I don't have a crystal ball, but what I can do is read the studies that our research partners do to tell us what's happening now and what our customers and our organizations think are going to happen over the next 5 years. So I just want to touch on a recent survey around attrition. So this is the average contact center rate attrition in 21. Now, you may be higher or lower in your organization, and it may differ slightly by country, but on the whole, and you probably recognize this, outside of an agent's salary or the fact that you come to work to be paid, the biggest, most important thing for agents and employees in our contact center is the flexibility of their schedule. And access to be able to work the schedule that they want is actually often one of the influences for the decision to leave. Or the decision to stay. And I'm just going to share some of those aspects that came out of that study. And there's a really interesting one here on that second one. So that study shows that split shifts was one of the most second highest important ones. I know when I was an agent, a split shift used to be this horrible thing that actually, wait a minute, why would I come into work in the morning, spend an hour getting in, and then go home for an hour in the morning and then come back in the afternoon to do a second shift on the same day? I'm doing all that time traveling. But I think Sharon mentioned it at the beginning. That's changed because we've got a lot more of our agents that work from home these days, and split shift option, it can actually be a really great thing, because if you work for a few hours or half a day in the morning, you've got that middle part of the day where the sun's shining, you can get out and do things, and then you do a few more hours in the evening. So split shift has become a really good one for agents to want and to need in the center. But you can see from those examples in there, whether it be flexible breaks and lunches or pre-approved hours, that the thing in there to read is giving access for your agents to flexible schedules and access to do the schedule that works for their work-life balance is really key to keeping your attrition down. And I see many studies around the cost of attrition, but just take a step back to just reflect on how long it takes you to train an agent to give good customer service in your center. So not just the time to recruit them and the cost of all the people's time involved there to advertise and interview and bring them into the business, but then you train someone for however many days or weeks that you do that, and then you've got a learning curve to bring an agent up to speed. So the cost of attrition is really high. I think there's one of our American studies showed it's something like $9,000 for the full cost of bringing an employee up to speed. So you add that in, actually offering agents more flexibility to make their work-life balance is really important to keep that down and keep your employees happy. So I know it sounds really simple, but if you engage with your employees and as a planner, I always want that to also to optimize my schedule, and you manage performance, you keep happy, engaged employees. So things like on-the-go scheduling and correcting your over and understaffing, and then taking real-time actions in your organization can make it a real difference to your employees. And again, I'm going to throw some stats on there, but just these are some things that came from some operational benefit of some ROIs that we saw for implementations of our products, but equally, similar products where you engage with employees in the right way. You can improve your or reduce your overtime hours. You can improve your voluntary time off, which is your request for holidays in your business, and you can remove those manual processes, which is the key bit. If I speak to most workforce management planners around the globe, the real reason they don't do a lot of employee engagement is because of the administration that's involved in it. So I'm going to talk you through how you can use technology in your center to do that employee engagement and drive these types of benefits. So I'm going to give you a few kind of use cases or day in the life snapshots of how we offer employee engagement. So here's an example of waking up in the morning and realizing your child's not well, and you know what, I'm due in shift in a couple of hours. I'd really like to stay home and have a little bit of time back. So through our application, and there are other products on the market, but this is the way our application does it and does it really well, is the agent can log onto their mobile app and see instantly what time is available for them to take time off. I'll explain for those of you that manage and supervise in a minute the rules behind this and how it does that. But from an employee perspective, just take that for a second. So they open an app and they can see immediately what time they can take off. That's really powerful for an employee, because they can then make decisions based on their work life. Now, they might not have a sick child at home, but they can make a decision immediately based on their life, and they can swipe across the hours that are available and take them, and they're guaranteed it, and it's put in immediately. And for those of you in the contact center, that's immediately updated to the schedule. It's now visible for everyone in the business that that person's not now there, and they've just used some of their holiday time to book a few hours off. They're really happy because they've managed to stay home and look after a sick child. You as a business have already granted that because you've checked that that's available before you've offered it. So it eliminates that guesswork, and I'll show you how we do that in a second. But you can see here how using technology to facilitate that engagement really, can be powerful for your employees. I mean, go one stage further for that. You can push offers of overtime out. So maybe you know that you're short a particular time. This example is on a night shift of 12 till 8 a.m. So you push a message out to your employees to say, we really need someone to do this extra shift. And the employee can click a button on their app and accept that overtime. So you can see the direction I'm going in here is having access to these decisions and being able to push and interact with agents and employees makes a really big difference. And you can do that via text or in-app notifications you can see on the screen, or by emails or various other alert methods. I mean, another example where you've got a problem at home and a leaking house, but actually maybe you've not got enough holidays. So what you want to do is you want to swap your shift instead. So you can see on the app again, nice color coded, that you've got the ability to swap your shift for a couple of hours from 3 till 5. So you swipe across to say, I'd like to take these hours off. And for you to proceed, what you then do is you select when you're going to pay that time back. So the app shows you when the center's now short and when they need you to pay that time back. You swipe across those hours, complete that swap, and you've just made a change of your shift, again, to suit your personal needs, but also helping the business. So every one of these changes is taking agents away from a time where you can afford to lose them and bringing them back in at a time when you need extra agents in your business.
Sorry, Colin, example. I just want to say,
ahead.
Matthew, I saw a hand up and then it disappeared.
Hi, Sharon. No, it was a thumbs up on his research. That's what we're seeing as well.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Good. I love positive reinforcement. I love that it resonates with people. So moving on to the next one. The great thing about this example is, and it's similar to the one before where you select time off and you can see, but you can do this for lots of different categories or codes. So you could be really clever with this and put unpaid time in there. Maybe you know as a business that actually you just have too many staff right now and you want people to take unpaid time off. It could be paid of a particular type. And you choose as a business, you can configure how you want to use this. Really, what you're doing as a business though is making sure that you're managing your agents and engaging with them in the right way. Now, it can do it a slightly different way as well. You can use this product to also do prompts for your agents and your employees around things like adherence. So you could say, do you know what, you've actually been late on your lunch break 3 times this week. Now I know this might not seem important if you've got 10 agents sat in front of you in the contact center and you can see people and you recognize when people are not about and pick up. But actually, even then, supervisors have got a really busy job these days of doing so many things in the center. But it's even harder when you've got your agents working at home and you're remotely managing 10 or 15 agents. So our product can do those prompts for you. You set your rules that say, you know what, I only want to let my agents know if they're more than this late or it's happened this many times. And you can set our product to do those prompts and alerts. And they can, again, be through email and through SMS notifications and in-app. So you're engaging with your employees in a way that's fair and consistent as well. So everyone gets the same, which can be really, really important. And you can go just on that last one, as much as I make that sound like a negative to always check on adherence, you can do the reverse in that as well. You can go back to agents and say things like, "You've done really well this week. You've answered the most amount of contacts than everyone else, or you've send a little message all around to your team saying you've done fantastic this week, team. Our sales are fantastic." So you can also send alerts and notifications that are positive as well. And we'd always encourage customers to do an equal amount of positive and pushy reinforcements. And then you've got the ability for your agents and employees to see their performance on the app. So they can see their AHT, their after call work. And this is really important for your agents and your employees to be engaged, to see where they're performing well as well. You know, everyone knows that if you're remote as well, and working at home, it's not as easy as it used to be to see the team around you and understand whether you're doing well. You actually need KPIs and measurements that you can see and check on for yourself to manage. But for those of you that were kind of a little bit worried about how this actually works, because it's great to say that your employees can engage and do what they want, but really that needs to have a control for your business to make sure that it's right for you as well. And the way we do this is really simple. So we recognize what your net staffing is. So we recognize what the requirements in your contact center are to provide good customer service. And that takes into account all those digital channels and all that customer experience journey that we touched on before, because we can support all of that. And the result of that is we know how many employees and agents are needed at a particular time of the day and how many you've got scheduled. And the result is we can identify where we've got under and overstaffing. And even the best, I mean, I've been doing workforce management for a very long time. I'd like to say I always got it perfect. I don't. That crystal ball that Sharon mentioned earlier doesn't quite exist, and I can never get all my staff to work perfectly exactly what I need at each point of the day. So I'm always going to have a slight amount of over and understaffing, and I'm always going to have times when an agent maybe rings in sick and I've got a slight shortfall, or maybe something gets cancelled and I end up with slightly too many staff. We recognise where we're over and understaffed by each interval of the day, and we feed that into our rules to identify those opportunities, and that's what shows for the agents and employees in your business. So you can imagine already every change that then happens is an employee and an agent changing their schedule for the better. So every time they do a change, it's almost like gamifying your contact center planning, that I'm saying to an agent, you can take 2 hours off when I don't need you, and you're gonna pay me 2 hours back when I do need you. And suddenly it creates this great partnership between your workforce management team and your agents and employees, where every change is actually a positive one. It almost gamifies wanting your agents to make changes because it helps you too. And as I touched on before, that's accessed 24/7 anywhere. I think to summarize that to me, for employee engagement, is what employees not just want now, I think it's also become an expectation. A number of customers have said things to me in the past like, actually, this is just what we need now, because this is what we need to attract good agents and employees to our business now. Because once you can imagine one agent's got it, suddenly everyone wants this kind of ability to manage your work-life balance and to do things right for your agent. So I guess in summary and a little bit of closing, digital's already here for everyone. I think we showed that from the stats earlier, and hopefully you've reflected what your centre's got and where you're going. Think about that full customer experience, and remember that if 85% of interaction is going to take place without an agent in the future, that 15% really matter. And you've got to give your agents the best technology to keep them happy, so it creates happy customers. So that's a bit of a summary of where we see the contact center industry going in 5 years, and I think how you can use technology to really engage with your employees better to help that journey and make it work. That's it from me, but I'm happy to accept any questions.
Thank you, Colin. Right, guys, any questions? None from the floor? Come now. Surely there are some questions or some statements or some comments you want to leave.
I'm going to pick on the person who accidentally took the mic off before, and if they're still on, to say, you said this resonated with your centre. Does this make sense for your business?
Colin, those are two different people. So that wasn't my mic that was off, but I was the one who resonated with you. Yes, we have regular dipsticks in our call centers to have a look at what's the sentiment. And we are seeing a shift in terms of what staff are preferring, especially with the work from home, finding gaps during the day, simple things like picking up the kids from school, etc. That seems to be driving a lot of the decision making around how we schedule staff.
Yeah. It's so, and this was a long time ago. One of the businesses I worked in was a very early adopter to doing some home working. And it was back in the days when you used to have a locked room for people to work in because of security reasons. And you used to have a special PC and a special connection that had, I think it was still dial-up probably back then, show my age. But yeah, we used to have some really interesting experiences with those agents, because they'd quite happily take time off in the middle of the day and then come back on in the evening, and you'd almost rely on them, and you'd be ringing them up going, I know you want to watch this tonight on TV, but any chance you could pick up and do an hour's support for me tonight? So it's very different having home workers than it is having an office full of agents. But the reverse is now true. They want to work around them too. So yeah,
agreed.
The examples I shared at the end, everyone wants them, don't they? Yeah. I mean, I do. I love the idea of taking a long lunch on an occasional day and then doing a few hours later. So yeah, that work-life balance is really important.
There was somebody else as well. The comment was really looking to introduce this in my workspace. But really, it's important for the individuals to really understand and have a passion for their KPIs. Okay, Absolutely. So tracking becomes easier. Yeah, agree with that one. What was the other one that I saw? Okay, excellent. Well, Colin, fantastic. You have hit the nail on the head, and yes, you did have a crystal ball. Good. So in the first place, I was not trying to say that you were old. I was trying to point out that you were experienced.
I am. Don't worry.
Don't worry. I've been in the industry for 35 years, so I beat you at that one. And just hearing you talk about ESAT and CSAT, our employees are very important. Our customers are incredibly important. And you have just taken the excitement, well, you've just elevated the excitement of our awards, because we're newly introducing the best customer-centric culture. We are introducing the best employee experience. So you have just gotten them all. And to add to that, something else which just resonated, the best customer experience redesign. And I just felt that you were talking to those, and the whole intent and resolution, using, satisfying a customer's query with a smart assistance is just what we are looking for. And to me, workforce management nowadays, better than when I was doing it in that locked room with an Excel spreadsheet, workforce management does equal the wellness of your employees. And really, I absolutely love that one. Absolutely. So I think, Colin, you've just set the stage where the CCMG can continue into our awards by making sure that the people are living your discussion.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely awesome. I don't know if there are any additional questions from anybody else. They're always a shy bunch, that they are. So guys, what I will do, however, is we have recorded the session, and I will take the recording, and Nice with Colin have promised that they are going to, oh, sorry, I see another question. What I liked specifically was the prompting. Oh, damn, disappeared. Sorry, it might help if I open the thing. And that was from Patrick. Prompting was that it's very specific and not subjective. One can then track adherence better and improve the employee's experience. Thank you, Patrick. Yes, agreed. So as I was saying, I'm going to take this with Colin's slides, and we will be sharing that with everybody. We'll just have to see size-wise and see if they all go, but I'm sure we'll be able to compress them and send them out. Okay. So Colin, I thank you very much. I thank NICE for their support. This is actually amazing, and I'm so glad that we're very much aligned and on the right track going forward.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Time.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Just a quick question, Sharon.
Oh,
if
yes,
there's
Patrick.
yeah, if there's a need to be able to contact Colin, we have his contact details. So for the people that are on, do we have his contact details?
Absolutely. I'll share them with Sharon, and she can include them on the distribution of the webinar. Yeah,
I will. Absolutely. I'll copy Colin in. Absolutely. And you'll all have his email address.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you, Patrick. Right. Guys, Nigel, you've been very quiet today. Oh, interesting and informative. You knew I was going to mention you.
I have been very quiet. I've been taking it all in, digesting. So thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Excellent.
And if circumstances permit, as we move forward, then probably be reaching out. So thank you.
Okay.
Great. Fantastic. Thanks, everybody.
Yes. Okay, guys. Give you some time back in your day. I know I booked an hour and a half, but I thought, this being our first one, can we also get his socials if he's active with Small Nuggets?
Of course I can. Yeah, I'll share my LinkedIn profile details as well, Sharon, so you can share them.
Thank you. So I'm just reading the comments as they appear, and they keep jumping in here. Excellent. Okay, so I thought you might want to catch up after the first, we had the conference and the awards. We haven't seen one another since, and we're gearing up for the next one. So I think very, very interesting. And honestly, I thank Colin and Nice for absolutely sharing all this information with us. It is probably a path forward. And yes, it is the next 5 years. So thank you very much. So if there's nothing from anybody else, I thank you all and look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye.